In our government system, it would be ideal if we had all the time to sit around and watch political debates, every single political ad, and the news to see what was being said about a candidate. But sadly, we have jobs, school, and many other responsibilities. However, we can still be well-informed voters by analyzing what we do, hear, and see, as well as making sure we get a good variety of perspectives on current events, like through the news. The trick to being a properly informed voter is making sure that a politician is not trying to trick you into voting for them. The most common way that people are tricked by other people is by the first person lying to them. Let's start with the speeches and debates that a candidate speaks in. There are a few ways to try to tell, um, if what the candidate is saying is not completely truthful. First, gestures that would normally be used as part of a speech will be delayed. Additionally, two-hand gestures are more conducive of bending the truth. People who stretch the truth or lie often fidget or perform grooming behaviors, like playing with their hair. They will often get sweaty or have dry mouths, so they may dab their faces or drink water. And phrases like honestly or let me tell you the truth can be a person trying too hard to convince you that they're not lying. Of course, politicians are often well versed in manipulating the truth, so this normal signs may not be portrayed when they are being untruthful. But regardless, we should still keep an eye out while we watch them talk or debate. Um, Another thing to watch closely is a political ad campaign. The lying that can be done through political ads is harder to recognize since it is recorded and not given live. But you are often able to tell if an advertisement is over exaggerated or takes other things out of context by just paying attention to them and maybe doing a simple Google search or checking the news. There are other ways that ads will probably try to gain your vote besides lying to you. Politicians use negative ads a lot. These are ads that attack their opponent. Some of these ads make great points about a contradiction or a bad policy idea that their opponent has or has made. Others attack the character of the opponent. As a voter, you should make sure that you are voting based on what your candidate's platform is and not other factors. One example is Trump's attack on Hillary. As you can see in the stills here and here, the ad depicted Hillary's poor health, and the audio for the ad barely even touched on her political background. It is important to ask ourselves what the person delivering the ad wants us to do and make sure that we keep that in mind while we watch it. If a voter like you or me did not recognize that these people who were making the ad were just trying to push us into feeling uneasy about voting for Hillary, we might have simply voted for Trump without even a thought about either of their platforms. As mentioned earlier, another way you can make sure you are an informed voter who is not swayed by the tricks of a politician is to pay attention to the news. Since the news is considered independent of political parties, they should present more of the facts and less of the fluff that a candidate may be adding. However, most news sources are slightly biased, so looking at news from multiple sources, preferably ones that are opposite, like, for example, having a subscription to both CNN and Fox, will be tremendously helpful for you to be a well-informed voter and responsibly form your opinions. There are many more ways that a candidate may try to trick us into voting for them or not voting for their opponent. Here are some historical examples that may have shifted the outcome of an election. In the 2000 Republican presidential primary, then Governor George Bush was running against Senator John McCain. When the race got to South Carolina, Bush's campaign made phone calls to voters that were basically a fake poll. They asked, would you be more or less likely to vote for John McCain if you knew he had fathered an illegitimate Black child? Who they were referring to this girl right here. And the child in question was actually McCain's adopted daughter, but the damage was still done, and the seed of doubt was placed in voters' minds that McCain was a bad character. Here, it would be helpful for a voter to do their research and find that the illegitimate child rumor was that, just a rumor. Another example is the 2072 election, where Senator Edmund Muskie was running for the Democratic nomination against George McGovern. While Muskie was working on winning New Hampshire, the editor of the Manchester Union Leader received a letter accusing Muskie of using the word Chinook, a derogatory term for French Canadians, which happened to be the ethnicity of a significant portion of the New Hampshire electorate. The letter was later discovered to have been written by a White House aide for President Nixon, and it later also came out that the information in the letter was false. But before that was proven, a voter could have kept informed and made a smart decision by listening to both sides of the story. The next example is a trick that was pretty. The next example was a trick that was meant to disrupt the casting of votes the 1946 Democratic primary, where John F. Kennedy was running against a Boston City councilor named Joe Russo. Kennedy's father allegedly paid another Joseph Russo to also run in the primary, in hopes of confusing the voters and splitting the non-Kennedy vote. This is where research is crucial for the voter, as knowing the difference on the ballot would have been very important. The final example I will share happened at a time I'm sure all of us can remember, the 2016 election. This example is Pizzagate. There were numerous rumors that John Podesta, who was at the time chairman of Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, was involved in a sex trafficking ring that ran outside of a pizza place in DC, which is this place. Many people heard about this, and though it was proven completely untrue, it still harmed the campaign. Some of these dirty tricks are so crazy that most people wouldn't believe them, but it only takes a few poorly informed voters to change the outcome of an election. It is up to us, the public, to ensure that we are voting based on our beliefs in the candidates and nothing else. If we are analyzing the media that we take in, then we can be properly informed voters that don't let politicians trick us into voting for them. Thank you.